Welcome to Perseverance IAS. The following are the important articles to be read in the Hindu newspaper for July 7th, 2021. The first article is amid cabinet reshuffle buzz, eight state governors are shifted or get new governors. So this article is not significant, but it is significant for state service examinations because there has been appointment of new governors and shuffle of governors also. So you need to know who has been given which state's governorship. So I humbly suggest you go through the names and try to make points as to which states they have been appointed as governors to. Moving on to the next article, GST mop-up in June falls below 1 lakh crore. From this article, I suggest you get an understanding of what are the results or what are the reasons as to why the GST collections have fallen below 1 lakh crore, and try to get an understanding of what has been the trend for the last 1 year and why specifically this month they have seen a reduction in GST collections and what are the factors surrounding it. Those are the things that you might find useful through these articles. Moving on, Delhi HC wraps Twitter over officer posting. So again, this is to understand what is going on between Indian government and Twitter and what is the say of the judiciary in this matter. Moving on to the next article, Maharashtra tables bill to amend centre's farm law. Through this article, you might get two things. What are the amendments they are talking about and how different they are from the central farm bills. Please do get an understanding of the differences between central farm bills and the amendments that this Maharashtra state is making, or if you find time, please go through various amendments that are being carried out by various states in regards to central farm laws. So moving on, crimes against women saw over 63% rise in 2021 so far. So this article is particularly related to the state of Delhi or the capital, New Delhi. Now you need to read this article to give you a standard or a statistical example in answer writing. When you want to make a case for rise in violence against women, you might quote certain percentages or certain numbers from this particular article stating that in the case of Delhi this has been the situation and these percentages and these specific numbers will add value to your answers in mains. From prelims perspective, please try not to memorize the numbers, just keep them in mind for mains. Moving on, we don't have much in terms of page number 5th or 6th today, but in 5th, as I said earlier, try to link up various states amendments with the central farm laws. So moving on to the editorial, fresh stirrings on federalism as new politics. Now understand the basic concept of federal structure of polity. Why federal structure of polity is not being adhered to India and what are its challenges. From this editorial you get that perspective. What are the problems in Indian political structure or discourse as to why we cannot have a federal structure in India. Now moving, Venezuela's reflections on the Carabobo. Now what is this? Please do understand that the monarchy or the Spanish monarchy, this again not important in terms of mains, but for prelims, understand this. What is this geopolitical campaign that they are talking about here and what impact it had on South American states? Please do read it from the perspective of prelims, but mains, please don't worry about it. Moving on to op-ed, seeking a paradigm shift in mental health care. Again, this is important for your mains and this might help you in getting an understanding for ethics answer writing, because you have to incorporate the dimension of mental health if and when certain questions are asked, and this answer or this article will give you a bearing as to what are the global community guidelines that are established and that are being followed by various countries. Now unpacking China's game plan. So this article is very important to understand in current scenario. Recently, the Chief of Defense Staff made certain remarks regarding the role of Indian Air Force if and when a war is broke out between India and China. This article gives you the differences and the importance of Indian Air Force in that current scenario or in that situation, and how our troops are different from China, and what sets apart Indian infrastructure and the Chinese infrastructure. I humbly suggest you please read this article in a detailed manner to get a better understanding of what is actually going on and who has the upper advantage if and when a war is broken between India and China. Now, vacancies send a wrong signal. I suggest you just read it once, and not that important in terms of mains or prelims. Moving on, IT rules. Center asks SC to transfer please to itself. Just read this article to get an understanding of what is going on. Apart from that, please don't concentrate much. Moving on, tender for 10 counter drone systems floated. Just get 3 or 4 counter drone technologies names, how they are different. Are there any Indian counter UAV systems or counter unmanned aircraft systems, and try to get those names also, because to give you a possible example, they might be helpful, but try to understand. Until unless these are widely reported, we cannot say anything about it. So just get few names of international systems or different methodologies used to counter drones, and what are Indian counter drone technologies that are in development or have been developed. Search for a DRDO system that they have recently launched. Get that name. It will be useful for state level prelims exams, and in case a security question is asked, you might put that place in your mains answer. That will certainly add value to your answer writing. Now moving on, Tele Law Services empowering Voiceless. Again, understand for state perspective what is this Tele Law scheme, who is implementing it, who is the nodal agency. For central perspective, try to understand why this scheme is being actually carried out, and how it augments fundamental rights. From that perspective, you can get this article. Moving on, Modi greets Dalai Lama on his 86th birthday. So try to read this article in the context of the Chinese. Try to understand why Chinese actually hate Dalai Lama, and why our PM calling Dalai Lama to wish him on his birthday will antagonize the Chinese. Try to get that history, why we don't call him every year and why this year he is calling. You will get an interesting history of Dalai Lama's promise to Prime Minister Nehru. So moving on, consulates remain open in Kandahar and Mazar-e-Sharif, India. Again, this is to get a basic understanding of what is going on in Afghanistan in terms of India. Apart from that, please don't carry much weight to this article. Moving on to page number 11, US left Afghan airbase without notice. Pull out of troops over 90% complete Pentagon. Amid rising Taliban wins, consulate shut down. Again, understanding of ground situation to have better awareness of what is going on in Afghanistan. Apart from that, not important. Xi reshuffles PLA border command leadership. Again, just the Western Theatre Command is important because it borders India. Apart from that, nothing much important. Just read this article to understand why the decision, or who took the decision to occupy Indian territory in the April of 2020. Just from the perspective, read this article. Apart from it, not important. Now, this article I wanted to highlight because Ethiopia resumes filling disputed dam. Only map pointing perspective. Don't even bother about what they are doing. Only map pointing perspective. Where is Ethiopia? Where are other countries they are talking about in terms of the River Nile? and if possible try to get an basic area of the grand Ethiopian Renaissance dam that they are talking about. Map pointing not important for anything else, simple map pointing. Moving on, oil soars to multi-year high after OPEC stocks collapse. Now, two things. What are these OPEC plus countries? Why raising output or oil production output is linked to its price in international market? And finally, how it will affect India? Because recently our petroleum minister had come out and said that if the OPEC plus countries do not raise their output and aid in reduction of global oil prices, India will have no other option but to purchase oil from Iran. From that perspective, read this article. India bond yields spike as crude surges. What is India bond and how it is related to crude oil prices? That is the link that you have to read. China tightens oversight of firms listed offshore. DD is the app that we are talking about here. What is that app and why China is taking this action? From that perspective, read this article. And these are the important articles to be read in the Hindu newspaper for July 7th, 2021. Thank you. Stay safe. Namaste.